Big tech right now is the meat in an ideological sandwich. They are getting attacked from the left for the role that Facebook played, allegedly in abetting the election of Donald Trump and the way that they enabled Russians to influence the election. And then on the right, they're being attacked by Trump and others for being ideologically balanced. And in my view, they're just going to be fending things off in essentially all directions. And on a lot of the big questions that they're going to be pressed on, they're stuck. They don't have great answers to some of these questions about how a lot of people want the internet to be cleaned up right now. They feel like discussion is very uncivil, that there's a lot of trolling and harassing, and the thing is a mess. And they want these companies to exert more power. But as soon as the companies assume that sort of responsibility, they're essentially admitting that they've become too big, and that opens them up for the possibilities of antitrust enforcement or greater regulation.
So, Frank, you got all those big book advances. Are you buying tech or are you selling these names? I mean, can you tell us what investors should take away from all this in terms of whether they stay long, add to positions, sell positions? What would you do?
Right. Well, I mean, I think it's interesting the ways in which these companies have been thrust into the spotlight and the ones that have done the best job of avoiding it. I mean, it's clear that Facebook has just positioned itself in the worst sort of way, where it's allowed itself to become the poster child for a lot of these attacks on big tech. And we see Google, which has been attacked by the president, and they've managed to essentially avoid the spotlight for a long time. I think it's really interesting that Larry Page is essentially the absentee landlord of big tech. He's the guy who's not on the magazine covers. He's the guy who's not submitting himself to testimony. And so I think they've had this. They're just better practiced in dealing with the politics of a lot of these issues.
You didn't tell me what Melissa has a segment on her show called Pops and Drops.
No, that's gone. That's been gone for years, like a decade. Thanks for watching, Joe.
That was my favorite.
But anyway, what were you going to ask Frank?
So don't your viewers need to know whether to buy or sell these stocks?
I mean, I think the big question, Frank, is even if there is regulation, is that going to threaten the core business models of these companies, and or will these companies have to continue increase spending in order to satisfy Congress and saying, look, we spend this many billions of dollars to help solve that problem. Isn't that enough? Right. Either scenario, bad for investors.
Right, exactly. So I think that they will try to spend more to try to stave off regulation. I don't think that regulation is necessarily bad for them over the long run. I think the thing that they fear is antitrust enforcement. You see the ways in which these companies right now are scrambling to write new privacy regulation that will be favorable to them. And you can imagine all sorts of ways if Facebook and Google get together in a back room and they try to script privacy regulation, they'll script something that'll be bad for their competitors. So I don't think that regulation is necessarily a net negative for these guys.
Is Amazon part of this, or is it just social media companies?
Well, Amazon's part of it in that they've been attacked by Donald Trump, right? The Amazon Washington Post. And they're getting attacked by Bernie Sanders. Last week, Sanders attacked them for their treatment of workers. So, I think that Amazon, in a way, has escaped the debate about regulation and kind of more than these other guys, because they're not in the thick of these discussions about how to regulate speech, about privacy, about the election aftermath. So in a way, they've managed to skirt the issues that have proven so troublesome for the other companies.